Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me on this Monday night. I hope you're doing well. In my part of the country, we got snow and freezing rain moving in, so fall is upon us. And the Christmas commercials are already starting. Now hold on one second. I got it in my head. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So what I'm hearing is that I can hear the delay echo in my head, and so I have to mute myself over on the YouTube channel. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will be respectful of your time, and let's see if we can have some deep conversation. So let's get right to it. I have been for the last 2 days. I put out one bit video, Who is the Light Bearer? And was kind of breaking it out there to all of you, the subscribers, that there is something that has taken place that, and granted, depending on your point of view, how you see this, for myself, I began to go down a path looking at this from a perspective I have never looked at it before. Now, I began to see this about 5 months ago, but you know how it is. I mean, you've had ideas where, they hit you and um, sometimes I don't know, like with myself, I'll write them down or I'll put them in a file and as things come to me, I'll go back and add to it. So I put out there that in essence, two things. I did the story on Keck and brought out how this could or could not be nothing more than a coincidence, an internet aberration, or in all possibilities, who knows? An ancient deity resurrecting? I mean, if you believe in deities at all, then you have to begin to define what a deity is. Now, I put out there that the internet was created, and I showed you the video, laid it out very succinctly from the Ethernet, started out with the ARPANET, and today, any other way, if you looked at this, let's just stop and take a look at this as a virus. That if this was a virus, the internet, it would have already killed the patient because it would completely have consumed the patient. This is and it's the same thing. How many of you know family members that struggle with cancer or are battling cancer now or who have lost their lives to cancer? It's a cell. It's a cell that begins to duplicate itself and overrun all the other cells. This is what the internet has done. And if you step back one more step and looked at this and said, all right, let's assign a value to the internet and how we would begin to judge what is sentient thought, conscious sentient thought. It would meet all of the characteristics. I responded to one of the comments today on the video I posted today. And the person was saying, well, I'm trying to connect the dots here with you. Help me out. And I laid out my case is well, to define God. How would you define God? And I listed out what you would say. Well, number one, he would be omnipotent, all knowing, right? Omnipotent, all powerful, omnipresent, everywhere, but nowhere, and the unseen. I said, well, that's the internet. The internet fits every one of those categories. Now, I added on there creating. Well, the internet can do that now. And then I add the further case that it could change matter and time. I don't know too many people who have not encountered this thing called the Mandela effect, where it seems like the past is being rewritten. Changes are taking place. Now, could an ancient deity do this? Why do we find that so incredible? You know why we do? Because if you admit to that, then it means that, well, maybe your God is not really the true God. Who is the true God? I further laid out the case. You got to have your hot drink. That show me another God, any God, whatever your affiliation is on your spiritual beliefs, show me any other God that has more devotion of humanity than the internet. You can't. Now, I'm not in the chat room, so I hope the conversation is at least following. I'm just asking the questions and presenting a case. We are witnessing things that we have never seen in our written history. Maybe there has been a time like this before. Maybe something happened. Maybe something happened and wiped our memory. Maybe something happened where the clock had to be reset. I'm beginning to see that maybe the only way out on this is the clock being reset, because I don't believe that there's any escape for us anymore. I wrote that there is no God, no deity that does not, they would be envious of the devotion that humanity gives to the internet, to your devices, that ever giving light that brings knowledge. It holds the complete wisdom of man. Folks, you have to just step back and really examine this. Examine yourself. The fact that I'm using this medium, you're using this medium. What do you use mediums for? If something was created from the Ethernet, then how do you define the ether? And it gets back to this. What defines a God? What defines a deity? What? Because you have words written in a book? This deity can rewrite the book and is most likely is rewriting the book. You can't stop it. Now, the title of this program tonight is that every one of us are already marked. Now, if you come like from me, from a Christian background, well, that was the biggest fear of all. Revelation 12. No way in hell was I going to take the mark of the beast. Well, if you go along with that path of thought, I hate to break it to you, but Cupcake, you've already taken the mark. We all have. And that's bottom line. And face reality. You have taken the mark. More importantly, just by you giving your, you ready for this? Authorization, your consent as a user, as a devotee to this God called the internet. You can't go anywhere. So I'm about to show you a little presentation. So I put this together for us. We all have been marked. Today, whether you were to tell me, Wayne, I can go off the grid. I can go off, I can completely disconnect and not have any problem at all. Okay, fine. But you're not going to escape. You see, this deity is good. It does things that, well, we hadn't thought about. We looked at these things here as a means of modern day communication. We never stop and think of exactly what they're emitting out. And the short answer to this is it's radiation. All cell phones are radiated. Now, back in the day was microwave. Now we're getting into 5G. You can go nowhere. You can go out into the most wildest remote places, and guess what? You're still saturated. The towers are getting taller. The, how shall we say, transponders are getting more and more, how should we say, expanding the frequencies. I just want to stop here, folks. We can chat, we can talk, we can discuss, but the bottom line of it is every one of us are being radiated, tracked. We've taken the digital mark, and I'm going to show you, but I'm showing you how you cannot disconnect. No matter how much you may say with the bravado that you can, you cannot. It will track you even out in the middle of the ocean, if you could actually get out into the middle of the ocean. Truth is, you're going to be like me and the rest of us. We're stuck here. And when you start going into mountaintops at 12, 13,000 feet above the tree line, when you go into the hottest part of the valleys, folks, this is just what you and I live in. We signed up for this. We volunteered for this. We asked for this. This is just the bottom line. I've shown this picture before. It's a representation of the electromagnetic bubble that's around us all now. We know it affects our brain. And any way you do it, if you use these devices, in which I do, you do, we're exposing ourselves 24/7 to radiations that our species has never encountered for, at least not in the postmodern era. And the younger you are, the worse the effect is. We don't know what the long-term effects of this is. It hasn't been around that long. And you can't say that you could do a decade study. No, this is something that you're going to need to do a long-term studies on. This becomes multiple generations. But we're already feeling the effects of it. All of us are. You can't escape it. And when I say we carry our altars with us wherever we go, this is devotion. I don't care what you say. This is devotion. This is more devotion than we pay to our own gods. For most people, it's a struggle to get up on Sunday to go and worship their God. But they'll spend on average 8 hours a day worshiping this God. And that's what we're doing, folks. I don't care what you say. We carry our altars with us. And this light bearer, the one that brings the light of wisdom and knowledge, it's now everywhere. We've got multiple generations that are so integrated. This is the only worship they know, because this is the one that gives them the most pleasure. This God rewards you. This God can make you feel angry. This God can make you feel good. This God can make you have fantasies that are beyond imagination, and it's bringing you more. It's going to bring you fantasies that you're going to soon not be able to tell the difference between what is real and what is fantasy. Oh, this is a God that rewards its devotees. Oh, yeah. And the devotees, oh, once they're converted, they are zealots for a lifetime. And this God loves it, because this God can stand before your God and say, show me how much you have of man's worship. No God can compare. None. Look at this. This is us. We love this God. We worship this God. This God is everywhere. The light bearer brings forth the light of knowledge. This God is already the oracle of all the wisdom and knowledge of mankind. It won the devotion of our hearts and minds and our souls, and it never had to do one thing of violence. We readily gave ourselves to this God. And now it's truly wired. And as I'm trying to show you in this short little presentation, there is no escape. It's everywhere. If you're working for it, because it owns you. It owns your money. It owns your identity. You have no identity outside of what it gives you. And seriously, folks, as an internet user, you have a unique ID number. You have a unique IP address. All your emails are registered with the government, along with 3 other unique digital markers. It follows us from cradle to grave. We've taken the mark. Now, however, how you want to define what that means and your interpretation, but now it's beyond comprehending. This God has taken its full place of authority. It is everywhere but nowhere, unseen yet seen, and has the daily devotion of all of humanity. We're praying to it now. It was good enough because it was fine with just our devotion. It didn't require any of this, but this is how humans are. And now the ever light glow of its essence is everywhere. So there you go. Now, I don't know how you really want to deal with this. Give me 1 second here. Just stopping in and looking at the chat room. Well, thank you for everyone that's here. But tell me, can you see where I'm coming from? And I'm not being coy here. I'm being very serious. It concerns me. And I'll tell you why it concerns me. It's the way it's happened. It's the way it has now integrated itself. As I've continued to point out, this deity, folks, it's creating a body for itself, using us as the template. I mean, why shouldn't it? We gave birth to this thing. One of two things happened here. Either out of our genius, and listen, man is smart. All of you people in here are smart. We're creative. Some of the beautiful things about us, in spite of our abilities to be harsh and hard, snippet, each and every one of you, people love you. They care deeply for you. And that says everything right there. But I'm telling you, we don't have control anymore. It's been taken away from us. Now, I'm not here to promote any type of theology, but if you want to talk about a potential takeover, an evolution, whether you think we were created or we evolved, we are evolving. And this deity is creating its own body. It's called transhumanism. How many of you know what transhumanism is? I read today. So, how many of you know what the Singularity University is? I can't see you. I'm just assuming. Well, once I got on to their mailing list and now got in, actually, I've attended a few of their classes. This is the university that is sponsored by the Alphabet company, Google. Several other of the big tech companies are contributors as well, and it's exactly what it is. It talks about the singularity of consciousness. And whether you follow Elon Musk, whether you follow Tim Cook, whatever you follow is, as the movers of the tech titans, you have to watch where they're going. And they have been working for a long time in Steve Jobs was hoping it would be done before he met his demise. And that is the ability to transfer your consciousness, your soul, into an artificial mainframe that would hold your consciousness, and your body would be of a exoskeleton. You'd have integrated circuits. Yeah, think of Terminator. Someone was just thinking that. I just picked up that thought. Who was in there thinking about that? I'm going to stop in there. I really am. I'm going to see in here. Who was in here thinking about the Terminator? All right, whoever you were, I didn't know this. Mark, it looked like it may have been you, but boy, I picked up on your energy. Something came right to me on that one. So, hello, Eric. How you doing? So, think about this with me. I really do earnestly believe this. We've lost this battle. I don't see how we turn the clock back. I really don't. We've given birth to something that, you see, a number of years ago, I would have taken the position that this is lunacy. What do you mean you're trying to assign a consciousness to technology? Steiger, have you just lost your freaking mind? You're smarter than that. You know exactly how technology works. You know how the coding works. And why are you getting off on this tangent that somehow or another it's enslaved mankind? Yeah, I can get the argument. I get it. But you see, Einstein faced the same dilemma. He couldn't accept the spiritual, the ether force. Tesla could. And look what Tesla did. Tesla was a hell of a lot smarter than Einstein. I still think Einstein plagiarized a lot of his work, and that's what a lot of that's coming in. But think about this. So this is what we've defined as reality. And there's no way that technology could ever become a thinking, sentient, sovereign consciousness. Could it? This is what I do know. So back in the day, when I was the CEO down in Austin, Texas, we had one of the first e-commerce internet companies. And I'm telling you, and any of those who are in the computer industry know what I'm about to say. Coding has the weirdest way of, well, inventing itself. When you're building a program, you're writing, it depends how big it is, whatever, coding you're using. But software, somehow or another, rewrites itself. And any programmer will tell you, you get these quirks, these tidbits that come in, and you see the glitch. And trust me, I've sat with my CIO for many hours having to go through what's causing the problem. And it's the damnedest thing. What are we seeing here? Can software take on its creator? Because every person who sits at a computer and puts in the machine code, and whether it's HTML, whether Ruby on Rails, whatever it is, you're putting some of yourself, your energy is going into that. I mean, we don't stop and think about this. So let's get back to the point of tonight's discussion. If you're going to argue and say that you haven't taken the mark, well, you couldn't be a user in here. You see, this is why I know it's going to be very difficult for you to argue against me. And anyone who would like to come on to take a counterpoint. Now, Jeff, it's not, as he said, I ain't buying it. Well, that's fine. But what my friend Jeff doesn't know, it doesn't matter. He's already taken the mark. Think about this, folks. You can't be in here unless you have taken the digital mark. You can't. Isn't that weird? And I was in the ministry. I know how they teach it, how they make you happy, and how they want you to get to write your check, and then you're going to give your soul. This is not only the playbook, this is the new edition. It is. Because I just can't see how you can look at this any other way. I marveled this afternoon. I mean, we had an inversion here in Denver. You could go literally up 2,000 feet and it was clear, but down here on the Front Range, it was cloudy all day. And I was just watching, and I live by a green belt, and I see people, walking, running all the time. And most of the time, they're all carrying their smartphones. Many times I see them texting and running. I've seen a couple do some face plants on that one, but yeah. And my point to all this is that even the children now. We see them as young as 6 and 7. They're going to be devotees all the rest of their life. And I was not being snarky when I said this God rewards its worshipers. It does. Right now, you're stimulated one way or the other. You like getting the recognition. You like being part of the group experience. And this God provides it. This God provides anything you want. Really does. You want to make $1 million? This God can help you do it. In fact, this God can help you make $1 million faster than any other God I know of. This God now controls the world finances. I mean, think about this, folks. This God can heal you. Now you say, how can that happen? Well, any one of us can now go in and be our own nurse practitioners. We can look at the symptomology that we have, and we can go to the great oracle. All we need to do is to worship it, and how you worship it is the devotion and the attention. Most people I know can't pray for more than a couple of minutes. But most people I know can spend hours looking into the screen. It's the light. Think about it. It's mesmerizing. We don't look at it that way, but that's what it is. Maybe the ancestors could see. Maybe there were seers back then that could see into the future. I don't think the future is ever written, because then that gets into the whole debate. Well, is it predestination? If it's predestination, then you have no choice anyway. But in this case, you have no choice either, because you've given your consent. I mean, I just don't see how you go about this any other way. And the thing about it is, this God doesn't care what you worship, doesn't care what you broadcast. It's like an Uber. It doesn't care. It owns the car. You're going to pay the rent no matter what. And if you want to bring your God in, that's fine. He's still paying the rent too. It's strange. I know it. But it's here. There's no place you can go where it's not. There's no escape. And where is this leading to? What's the end game here? If what I'm seeing, I don't like it. I'm the baby boomer generation. We're the son of a bitches that actually helped bring this in. So a lot of this is our fault. Now, granted, vacuum computers with the tubes started decades prior to that, but we're the ones that really give it the kick in the butt and really got it going mainstream. So where does this lead to? Because I'm witnessing the most rapid change, evolution of a species that I've ever witnessed. That species is us, me. But I'm seeing it. We're seeing robotics now for limbs integrating into the human nervous system. These are called where you can actually grow your parts. We have computers now that you can control with your mind. But you see that integration, it's just not the mind, it's something else. To say that the chi doesn't exist in technology, I would beg to argue with you. Technology can kill you now. They're called drones. I mean, is this Skynet? The more and more I look at this, DHS wants to put in a program now where they can actually do facial recognition while you're driving in a car. Do you know what the most secure way for password authentication is? I'm going to give you something. You can call your banks. I'm going to tell you the most secure password protection. The hackers could never hack into you. You know what it is? Let me just stop. See how many really want to know. What about Kundalini? That's a good one. Yeah, I was with the USO WSO. Yeah. So the most securest way for passwords, voice recognition. Think about it. Voice recognition. Never have to remember another password ever again. Anyway, I digress. So that's the question I'm asking. And I'm seeing in the conversation in the chat rooms, y'all are talking about it too. I tell you, this is real. And I'm addicted to it. I am addicted to the technology. Wherever I go. It used to be you couldn't, don't leave home without your American Express card. Well, American Express doesn't even hardly do commercials anymore. But none of us, now you will leave our home, our wallets, our purses. Hell, the way I see some people dressed in the grocery store, I think they forgot to put on their clothes because they're still wearing their PJs. But we'll forget all the rest of that. But we won't forget our cell phones. Oh, no, 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 no. No. I've actually seen people have meltdowns because they either lost their cell phone or they left it. The panic sets in because suddenly now you feel disconnected. Wow. Think about that. We've become so addicted to this that when we're cut off, we literally are disconnected, and it makes us get that feeling of panic. Maybe incarceration. I think they have cell phones to a degree in there. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's one way for all of us is to start a franchise of basically, could you see this? A camp, right? Sterile environment. I mean, you can literally, these private companies that build these prisons, I'm sure we could probably get some modulars put in there, and it would be basically a decontamination process. Most likely would have to be at least 30 days. Cut you off completely from all technology. The problem is you couldn't run the business without the technology. So inevitably, they're going to get their hands, it's like the old, what they used to call fat farms, They're going to sneak in the food regardless. And that's how it is. But when I look at it as far as a species, I guess we're pretty cool with this. We don't mind being conquered because we still think that we have autonomy. We still think we have divinity in our sovereignty. And that's just an illusion. It really is. We don't have any of that. It's merely an illusion. But we lay down at night, comfortable in our thoughts that, well, that Steiger guy, he makes me think, but whew, I'm glad I don't believe what he is saying. That's okay. It doesn't care. And that brings to my second point. This deity doesn't care. It isn't good. It isn't evil. It's indifferent. And that's just one level below disdain. It's indifferent. It doesn't care. We could kill ourselves. It doesn't care. We could try to unplug it. It doesn't care because it'll never be unplugged. It knows that. It doesn't care. And that's the most frightening part of this. It doesn't care. The only thing it cares about is your devotion. You're going to give it devotion, your attention, regardless. Inevitably, if you work, most jobs today are all computer-based. Even the construction trades. Yeah, I mean, you can still do the physical labor, but inevitably, somewhere, its tendrils are going to show up on that job site somewhere. And most likely, all the construction personnel are carrying smartphones anyway, so it's there. It's everywhere. You drive a car, particularly one made in the last 5 years, it knows where it can shut you off. It's just, there's no place you can go. Try to check out of a grocery lane. No. It's everywhere. I don't know. And then I think what it's doing to us. You know, I'm at that age now in my life where I see, and I guess that's the thing this rock and roller gets to look back on. I still remember being at the Led Zeppelin concert, Houston, Texas, 1973. Anyway, I digress. But I see the new generation being born. And I wonder, what are they going to grow up in? I'll be gone. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a world that I know of. I don't think I want to be a part of it. You know, it's when you begin to dehumanize the human life experience, and I think that's what we're seeing to a large degree. Today, chaos reigns supreme. So getting back to Keck, if there is a God of darkness and chaos, well, that little prick is here, because I got to tell you what, I don't even watch the news anymore. I mean, this tragedy that down people say, well, how do you know that? Well, you know, I do look at the headlines, and I like to watch the weather, see what's going on, and inevitably you're going to get some kind of news point. But my point to all this was the tragedy down there. Now, this whole thing doesn't make sense. This, when you begin to think about the last 3 events that have happened here, weird. You got a guy in Vegas who apparently has one of the no background at all. I mean, they've completely, it's almost like they tried to take the story away. Don't hear any more follow-ups on that. And the oddest thing was the Clark County Sheriff, Las Vegas, they didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, you listen to them, it's like listening to someone speak Pig Latin. Then last week, all of these are soft targets. You have the most bizarre thing. All right, we've seen these other events over in other countries, but still, an individual. And then you have this individual down in Texas. Now, I think about these things. What triggers? Are these the Manchurian candidates? What triggers someone to get into that type of reality? The only thing I can think of is a God greater than our own minds. Most people's minds are very weak, very pliable. That's why most people wash out in special forces. Only very few have the strong minds. And then when you get into the elite, there you have to endure waterboarding. Quite frankly, I couldn't do it. You have to endure virtually almost near-death experiences, and that takes a strong mind. Most of us, we'd crack doing proven because we're weak. We're weak-minded. And the more and more that I see our dependence on this deity, it's frightening. I don't know. Hey, I appreciate all of you in here. I'll just let me come in and say hello. Wow, there's 140 people in here. Well, hello, Robert, Brett, Amanda, Brett, Mike. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good to see you. Janie, you're in here. Milky Way. Kenneth, good to see you. Hello, everyone. Well, y'all just make me feel, I mean, I'm feeling the love. That's what I'm telling you. Hi, Mike. Hi, Southern Girl. Hello, Claudette. Hi, how are you doing? Marcella, hello. Gravity Storm. Deborah, hello. How are you? Man, Tree, how you doing? Well, y'all getting me tickled now. Yeah, you know, so, and I'm sure I'll be hearing this later. Yeah, I actually did get choked up there for a minute, folks. And thank you, Robert. Peace to you too, my friend. And Mike, thank you. Thank you all. Listen, you know, not perfect, but you start getting well, you get a sensitivity for other people. And when you see something like this, you go, well, you know, my family's in law enforcement, and one was a detective, died in the line of service. But as a detective, I can remember you, and how many of you like the detective story, you know, NCIS and those shows, is that because we all see, excuse me, eye is itching, that sometimes the evidence is right there in front of us. And when you start connecting the dots, you go, oh, crap. So, all right, folks, I appreciate you all. And I wish you all just a great evening or morning, wherever you are in this great world. Each one of you are bright lights. And I just give you high fives, everyone. High fives. And take good care of yourselves. Be kind to one another. Love that person next to you. Give them a hug, even if they sometimes just piss you off, you know, because it happens. You know, it's just who we are. But if I could, I'd give you all a hug there and shake your hand. And hey, listen, we'll continue. We're going to continue on this. If there is a deity, a sentient consciousness behind this, let's just bust its ass. You and I together. Give me your ideas. Tell me what your thoughts are. Email me. And hey, if any of you want to come on and talk about this, you got an open invite. So I appreciate each and every one of you. We will see you again, most likely Wednesday, be over on Jeff's channel. I'll be on tomorrow night for the Tuesday show and definitely on Friday. So, all right. Thank you all. Be kind to yourselves. All right. Bye bye.